We Make Movies Film Geeks podcast, episode number 48. Welcome to the We Make Movies podcast, making the world a better place, one film at a time. And now, here are your hosts, otherwise known as the director, the actress, and who the hell is that guy? Chad, Michelle, and Garrett. Once again, our introductions coming up inaccurate. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the We Make Movies Film Geeks podcast.
What's up, bitches?
It's the podcast all about how to get your movie made, how to get it seen by other people, and how to get it awesome. One of the two official podcasts of the We Make Movies Film Collective in Los Angeles. And as you will have noticed, I am your host, Garrett Robinson. With me, as usual, co-host Michelle Loucadoux, who just came in from the swimming pool. I'm not even kidding. Not with us as always, is Chad Kukihiko, who is out in the desert making a movie. So, I mean, we make movies, so that's what's happening right now. We were supposed to have a guest host. We weren't able to set it up technically. We had some major computer issues that didn't work out. So, Scott, sorry you're not here. But hopefully we'll figure it out and have you on at some point in the future. We will have a guest host on next week because Chad will be shooting something else. So we have that to look forward to.
We love you, Scott. Update your browser.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a browser issue. How was your week, Michelle? I feel like it's been a hell of a week for everyone.
Fabulous, Garrett Robinson. I was spending some time. In fact, I was spending some time working on producing a film of yours.
Really? I didn't know about this. No, I did know about this, obviously.
Called Unsaid. And I think we may have some awesome people involved, which I'm very excited about. But if you're listening and you would like to check it out, you can go to our blog. It is unsaidfilm.blogspot.com. And if you are interested in donating, you can click the donate button. And it is a film about letting go, basically. But if you would like to donate in memory of a loved one that has passed on, we will include them in the in memoriam page at the end of the film.
And we will definitely be giving future updates on that. It is a very special project to me. It's a pet project. It's about dealing with the end of life, of loved one, et cetera, et cetera. But this is not a sad show. This is not a serious show. This is a happy show. So we'll get started as always with the community news. Michelle, this first bit of community news is so awesome. Michelle, do you want to just take it?
Check out our YouTube channel and fucking subscribe.
That's all it says. That's it.
I mean, seriously. There's a lot of stuff on there. I mean, there's a lot
on here. Remember, we're on the YouTube channel right
yes,
now.
on here on the YouTube channel. But you need to check out the other stuff because Laura Menino has a ridiculously hilarious segment that comes out every Monday called Short Attention Span. There is a new ridiculously hilarious sketch every Tuesday, sketch comedy. Which is obviously the winner of our sketch competition at We Make Movies.
Which is something you should be coming to.
Space LA, yes, you should be coming.
Then,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say there's also How We Make Movies, which is our interview series with Amanda Lebert that's kick-ass, interviewing filmmakers and gleaning information from them.
And we shot 2 more episodes of that show yesterday. It was great. It went off really, really well. Have you been to the filmings before?
I have not. My other job is I direct children's musicals, so I was knee-deep in 10-year-old Hairspray on Saturday.
Oh, God.
Yepers.
Yeah, I forgot Saturdays weren't good for you. They're really, really great, and those are actually live events. The taping of How We Make Movies is a live event that you can come to. I highly recommend it. You get to hear filmmaking tips from people who have made feature films and are doing new, awesome, successful things in the industry. So we try to announce them on the show, here on the show. If we don't, or if you want to make sure that you never miss it, really the best place is the website, wemakemovies.org, and sign up for the newsletter, and it's always announced in there. And also, at the tapings, there's a raffle. It's not a raffle, it's just a giveaway, and somebody in the audience wins a Surface Pro. Yesterday, Stina won a Surface. Yay!
Woo-hoo! We love Stina.
Stina's the best. I mean, everybody else is the best as well, but Stina is also the best. In other community news, this Wednesday, the event is What's Next. This is our kind of our new thing we're doing. The purpose is to bring in-development pictures projects into the next step of development. At each event, there's 4 or 5 different filmmakers or teams presenting whatever they want from their current project. In other words, something that is past the script stage, and they can get feedback. Some people have brought in something that they're in the middle of editing. We had this one event. We've had it once before, and somebody brought in something that they were in the middle of editing. Somebody did a live performance with the actual actors that were going to be cast in it, and asked like what people thought about where it could be shot and how, and the story construction, etc., etc. Really, whatever you want to do that has already been written and is in pre-production or production or post-production, you can come and get really awesome, vital feedback from the community. So. Something
and
to come to.
apparently it's very competitive because I submitted my own web series, $20 Los Angeles, and it was not accepted.
Oh.
Cutthroat.
Was it just pushed to the next event? I didn't think they were rejecting people. Okay.
I may be in the queue.
I think you're in the queue. It's like the writers' workshops. There's no real rejections.
That's nice. So yes, check it out on Wednesday. I think we should move on to our news items, Mr.
Yes,
Robinson.
let's do it. We're gonna have a shortened show today slightly because we do not have a Chad or a guest. So Michelle and I just have the 2 segments each. But general news item number 1, geek update. Amazing Spider-Man 2 passed $600 million at the box office this week, which is only it's only been out in theaters a few weeks. This is really, really good news for the studio. The first Amazing Spider-Man, i.e. the reboot, did $750 million total during its entire theater run. So the sequel looks ready to break that number. It's almost a shoo-in that it's going to break that number for the first one. What I think is funny about Amazing Spider-Man 2, still haven't seen it. Not sure I'm going to. I don't know. Just like sometimes I'm like yes, and sometimes I'm like eh. But what's funny is the reviews are very. People either really like it or they really dislike it. It's very polarizing. Some people say that it's worse than Spider-Man 3, like the Sam Raimi one with emo dancing Peter Parker, which is like I can't conceive that it would be that bad. Yeah. Other people say that it's better than the first Iron Man or the Avengers or any of my favorite other Marvel films, and I can't conceive that it would be that good. Like I'm like, it can't be that bad as those people are saying, but it also definitely can't be that good. So anyway, I don't know if I'm ever going to see it, but at least Marvel's still keeping it going on strong, just for the brand and for the things it allows them to do. I am happy about that as a comic book geek. Yay.
I don't know. I feel like good art is definitely polarizing. I think it's definitely doing something right that people are talking so much about it. People are going to see it. And even so, if people are that vehement about how bad it was, it did something that was, tweaked your emotions, or I don't know, maybe it's just a bunch of comic book geeks like you that need it to be exactly like the book.
Oh my God, the Rhino does not look like that.
Exactly. Moving on to some more interesting news. Okay, as we all know, that fabulous film festival Cannes is going on in my motherland of France. The film festival, like for real, it's like on my bucket list. Like I want to go. Either as a writer, I want to go in some capacity someday before I die. So some standouts so far have been, well, despite the whole Grace of Monaco controversy, the Weinstein Company, swinging their big dicks with Naomi Watts and Bill Murray in St. Vincent, and Ryan Reynolds in Woman of Gold. But mostly, though, which is really intriguing, it's a film by a debuting director named Ted Benson. It's entitled The Disappearance of Eleanor Rigby. It's getting the most attention. And it's being shown as one film, but it's also 3 films. The films are Him, Her, and Them, basically telling the same story, one from her viewpoint, Jessica Chastain.
Hmm.
One from his viewpoint, James McAvoy, and then there's the then version that will obviously probably get the most play, like a streamlined combination of the two. And it's already getting Oscar buzz, and I can't wait to see it. I think it's a brilliant idea for a film or a film series.
So you can actually go out and see 3 different versions of the film?
At the film festival right now, yes, all 3 versions are playing. But there is the one that's getting the most play is the Them.
Mm-hmm.
But they did shoot 3 different versions. Well, they shot 2 different versions of the film, and I think the Them is like both versions together.
Both of them like blended essentially. That's so crazy. Yeah. Like, I wonder, are they going to release all 3 versions? How are they going to do that? That's weird.
I mean, I think it depends on how it goes. I mean, whether someone's willing to distribute all 3 versions of film, or
maybe it's like you can just go get the movie, or you can get the deluxe special edition with the extra DVD versions of the other 2 and all that sort of thing. I mean,
in fact, yes.
That's what I'd do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the director's cut.
That's exciting. We should try and see that as a group when it becomes available to be seen. Do you want to talk about David Lynch? Why? I'll save
it for the end.
Okay.
I started writing some extra stuff since we didn't have a guest, so
And since Garrett was a slow asshole motherfucker who, I mean, it wasn't entirely my fault. I just want to.
I didn't say it.
I just want to say that. All right, more geekiness. Godzilla hit 93 million in its opening weekend, which shattered the studio's expectations. Studios are generally like, oh, we're very confident. We think it's going to do this, and it rarely does. They said 70 million, and it hit 93 million. So that's like, well done, studio. There have been a few early fan complaints. I know, right? There have been a few early fan complaints that, like, Godzilla's too fat, or this is just another shitty reboot in a long line of shitty reboots of classic movies that Hollywood doesn't need anymore. Concise little sound bites like that. But the film is doing surprisingly well on Rotten Tomatoes as well, over 70% approval from both critics and audiences. If you compare that to the 1990s Godzilla reboot, it was distinctly less impressive than that. Most interesting.
No, go ahead. I'll ask questions afterwards.
The most interesting criticism I've read is that Godzilla is like a supporting character in the movie. He's not even like in pretty much the first hour of the film, mostly at all. Which I'm just sort of like, okay, so is it the story of Bryan Cranston becoming a meth dealer who then takes on Godzilla in the last part of the film? Anyway, this is one movie that I do want to check out. So after I do, I'll try and let people know what I think, if I do. I don't have a lot of movie time these days.
Well, there's that. I'm sorry. If I could go back.
Yes.
You said that people were saying that Godzilla is too fat. Is this what's happening? This is America. This is
a thing
right now. Godzilla
this is a thing.
Is not fat as in PHAT, pretty hot and tasty, the acronym, by the way, which was, made famous by Jerry Springer. No, fat as in like overweight.
Yes, he's an overweight monster. People are concerned that Godzilla is too overweight.
And also people are concerned that Godzilla doesn't, get enough lines?
And people are concerned that Godzilla is a fictional lizard. It's like, people, come on. Their complaint is based on that's not how he looks in the original, the great Japanese films and whatever, which I'm sort of like, okay, but let's just stop this. Let's stop all of this right now. Come on. Anyway.
Oh, that is some kind of really fabulous like YouTube video or something like that. Like Godzilla gets a trainer.
The things that the internet will get upset about. I just am not. I can't even. Go on.
It gives me great joy. Okay, another news item. Anthony Mackie has been tapped to play Jimi Hendrix.
I don't know if I know who that is.
Anthony Mackie, Hurt Locker.
No, Jimi Hendrix. Ha, kidding.
But called Crosstown Traffic. They used to be called Crosstown Traffic. Now renamed Jimmy. whatever, directed by Ol Parker. Now there's some controversy a while back with like the whole Hendrix estate. They had an objection to how the role of Jimmy was played, the drug abusing, intermittently violent, potentially genius rock star. They had some objections to how he was being portrayed, but they worked it out and found a new actor, which is Anthony Mackie, and it's now happening. So that's good. I spent some quality time with Mr. Mackie when I was in New York. His play, one of my favorite plays ever, A Behanding in Spokane, was playing next door to the theater where I was playing The Little Mermaid. I know, polar opposites. So I hung out backstage at Behanding a lot. And by the way, Martin McDonagh is on my top 5 celebrity F list. I'm just letting you know.
Good to know.
Anyway, I will say this.
You got to put these things out there, because otherwise, if you never mention it, how will what chance do you have? You have none.
Yeah. Well, no, I totally made a fool out of myself in front of him at opening night party. I included the word dismemberment and a lot of laughing. Anyway, I will say this about Mr. Mackie. I won't say a lot about Mr. Mackie, but I will say he's a great choice to play this role.
Excellent. I think he's definitely got the look. He's got the chops. So I don't know what people really object to. I don't know. Whatever. Shall we move on to the main topics? Are we ready for that?
Yeah, Mr. Johnson.
Good.
I'll lay my cucumber.
I do want to highlight that. If you don't watch the YouTube channel and you just listen to the audio feed, you're missing out, because Michelle is literally in a bathing suit right now, munching on a cucumber. That's what's up. All right. First main topic.
By the pool. That's what's great about Google Hangouts.
Yeah, absolutely.
# Google Hangouts sponsor us.
We should get you a microphone, and you should always broadcast from your house so that you can always be in a bathing suit.
Woo!
We'd get the viewers. So let's move on to the main topics. I am up first today, and it is time to make a case for the artist in all of us. Every once in a while, I just like to rehash this point, because Hollywood keeps making Marvel movies and Godzilla reboots and blockbusters based on best-selling novels, and that's all going to keep happening. It's part of the culture now. It has been for a while. We'll never go back. But
I think we might.
I don't think we will. Not without some sort of apocalypse, which I don't want that to happen. I mean, all of the biggest movies are more and more are reboots and based on and adapted from and etc. And that's fine. Some of that is very, very valuable. What are you chatting at me? No, it's fine. So. Kind of eliminated the privacy point of that chat conversation, didn't it?
I didn't say anything bad. I just asked about my microphone. Carry on, Garrett Robinson. Carry on.
All I'm saying is that original content has not lost its relevancy either. I don't think that it will ever lose its relevancy. Hollywood is investing more in original, big-budget sci-fi films than they have done in years, or maybe even decades. You've got Oblivion and Edge of Tomorrow, both obviously big Tom Cruise things, but they're both original stories. I've investigated. I was immediately like, "What book is this based on? I'll read it before the movie comes out." It's not based on a book. They're just original movies. Huge budgets and huge box office return. Jupiter Ascending, that new Wachowski's film. Yes. Completely original. It's not based on anything. So I'm like, yeah, F&A. Well, I liked Oblivion. I don't know how Edge of Tomorrow and Jupiter Ascending are going to be, but at least they are trying, and at least they're doing things. I mean, look at Star Wars. Yes, now we're getting sequels and to some degree a reboot with J.J. Abrams, but in its infancy, and what was amazing about it was an original concept. What I feel like people forget is that reboots and adaptations and whatever, they might do well, but they were based on the idea in the first place. There was a thing that these things were then made off of. And we can only see the same thing over and over again so many times before we just can't do it anymore. And that doesn't just apply to franchises. It applies to all of the technical side. It applies to story construction. Every aspect of the art of filmmaking. We need new types of characters, new story ideas, new worlds to spend time in. And original content creators are still being rewarded. Like, remember that even if you make $500 million on a Marvel film, a bunch of that money just goes to Marvel, like a bunch of that money. But if you make a tenth of that amount,
I want to know what percentage of that you think goes to Marvel.
What I honestly don't know. I know it's significant. I know it's
significant, like 5, or significant like 20, 30%? Yeah.
I mean, if I had to just pull a number out of my ass, I'd say closer to 20, 30. It's definitely a number pulled out of my ass. I don't think it's as low as 5%.
Ladies and gentlemen, Garrett Robinson is pulling things out of his ass.
All week, ladies and gentlemen.
He will.
That's right. Got a lot of things buried up in there, and some of them are deep. But if you make a tenth of that amount of money, and it's something original, it's all yours. That's how people create media empires. That's how Tyler Perry can be as rich as most of the biggest Hollywood film directors out there, even when his individual films never come close to that amount of money, because it's all him. He pays for everything. George Lucas, okay, one of the richest, if not the richest film directors ever. Do you know why he's the richest? It's because he paid for Star Wars. Against the advice of everybody. Everybody was like, never spend your own money, never do your own thing. He paid for it all. Totally original content creation, and he retained all the rights, the merchandising rights and everything, because he paid for it. And, like, hello, he's George freaking Lucas. He can't make a movie, but he can make, a lot of money. So, anyway, even look at James Cameron. What did he make most of his money off of? Terminator and Avatar. 2 stories not based on anything except Ferngully and Pocahontas and Dances with Wolves. But more than that, yeah.
Carry on.
More than that is that what I get discouraged when people lose sight of is that there is a point to art, and it's not to regurgitate the same plot lines and characters over and over again. So, for whatever reason, success, value, everything, people need new original stories. So please keep that in mind, no matter how much Godzilla's and Spider-Man's and Captain America's and everything else, as fun as they are, remember that we need the other thing too. That's my case for the day.
If I may make a conjecture here, as far as that's concerned, I mean, I get your point. I understand. I agree. Absolutely. Original art, amazing. And we'll get to that in my main topic, actually, because we're kind of converging on a few ideas. But all of the people that you mentioned have not only done that or, created their own thing, but they've also cornered the market on their quote-unquote thing. You know what I mean? Tyler Perry has a thing. He has a, Medea and, like, barber shop or whatever the hell that was, or I don't even know, but he has a thing. He has a genre. It's like literally a Tyler Perry genre. And, for all intents and purposes, James Cameron does too. You know what I mean? Like, big budget, save the freaking planet, whatever.
Right.
Star Wars too. I mean, like, it's maybe also to do with, like, being smart enough to know that there is a genre in film that is untapped, that can be commandeered, for a lack of a better word.
No, absolutely. I think you're totally right. But again, that comes down to, that's why original content is awesome, because these guys are like, hey, you know what nobody's doing, or what blah, 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 blah. But if they got into that sphere by adapting somebody else or by rebooting or whatever, then they haven't cornered the market. It's like, it's it's finding what people aren't doing, and obviously not going so far off the wall that nobody wants to watch it, but just having the knowledge of like, hey, you know what would be awesome? This other thing that nobody else is doing. That's what
Why were
I
they
hope.
slightly British for a second, huh?
Because the British were like, hey, look what nobody else is doing, killing lots of Indians and taking over an entire country.
All right. And there we have it.
That escalated quickly.
That is really interesting, and I agree with that. And we do need more original art. I think the problem also with that is that money.
Oh boy, yeah, I
Who's
hear you
gonna
on that one.
if you're if you've already bought the rights to whatever new young adult novel that's popular after Twilight and all that, then bust a move.
Yeah,
People are going to put their money behind it. People aren't going to put their money behind an unknown author, an unknown director, unknown actors that just may or may not be good art. You know what I mean? I mean, sure, maybe they are, but only if there's a sizzle or there's some kind of proof that their money isn't going to waste. So.
No, yeah, but like so many of these people had to like scrap for decades before it ever popped. But it's like, but look what came out of it. I don't know. It's up for individuals to decide whether it's worth it or not. But James Cameron got his start doing crappy effects work on crappy B-rated horror films, and Lucas got virtually no money to make THX thingy thing, and then took all of the money that he made from that film and spent that making Star Wars. So that's like,
Sure, but I mean, percentage-wise, how many of those people are actually like quote unquote making it? I mean, like there are, I'm sure, untapped geniuses.
I think it's just geniuses. I think you tried to get pretty complicated on that one.
Like living in the world all over the place, like you can use like thousands of stories. Stephen King washed sheets for a hospital before he wrote Carrie. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. It just statistically, I just wonder.
We should get to your thing because I have a very, very salient point that you're talking about, but your main topic is going to set us off on a whole nother thing on this. So why don't you tell us? Why don't you tell us about this? This is a cool story.
They're very connected actually today, which is interesting. Okay, so Bentley came out with a commercial for their Mulsanne, I'm going to call it. I don't know how it's pronounced, but the commercial is shot entirely on an iPhone S and edited on an iPad Air in the back of the Bentley Mulsanne.
So in other words, they shot it and edited it in the back of the back of the car. Wow.
Yeah, there are some outside car shots, but they are all shot with an iPhone on some kind of apparatus, but it is all iPhone, and then they edited the entire thing and posted it from the back of the car. I think it's a genius idea. First thing you need to know about the car is that they're basically marketing it as a rolling office. When you sit in the back seat, when you press a button and an iPad Air folds out of the seat in front of you in like a fancy foam, like chrome cover. It's amazing. The entire car itself is a Wi-Fi hotspot. And it, of course, includes a ridiculous sound system, etc., all that stuff. Now, if you're the kind of person that can afford this $300,000 car, because I was looking at it and I was like, why is it fold out the back seat? Why not the front seat? I mean, I guess you can't really edit a video while you're driving. But if you're the type of person who can afford a $3,000 car, then you're probably not the kind of person who actually drives your own car. So, meaning the back seat, you're always in the back seat doing something fancy, like ruling the world. From your built-in car iPad, bust a move. But
whatever else people do in the back seats of expensive cars.
Try to take same thing we do every day, Pinky. Try to take over the world. But what I think is great and annoying at the same time about this whole thing is that they did the whole commercial on an iPhone and edited it in the car. Awesome. It's a beautiful commercial. It's beautiful. And we all know that there are all these fancy iPhone attachments you can buy for the iPhone now to make your films. it's great for people who can't, afford to bust out the red epic and bring it to, for their family video. But doesn't that mean that everybody and their brother thinks they're a filmmaker now? Like, oh, it's easy. I have an iPhone and an iPad. I can do what you do. You can't. No, you can't. And you can't. And I know you can't. And that's what's annoying. Anyway, so there's a minute-long behind-the-scenes thing online after the video that shows it being shot by a very, very obviously professional director and crew. But does Joe Schmo watching this video know that this is a professional director and crew? Probably not. I mean, I don't know. It's annoying because here's the equivalent. It's like turning filmmaking into like the idea that everybody has of acting, right? So I've added up on a dare drunkenly one night, added up all the hours of acting study that I have, and I have more than the equivalent of a PhD in acting. Whatever. But then there are people like Mimi Leakes and Jennifer Lopez who just, do it and give us all a bad name, or we'll try to do it anyway. So I think it's a great idea, Bentley. Really cool, but does this devalue us as filmmakers?
I say no. I say absolutely not, because for my whole philosophy on art and everything is breaking down the barriers to creating art, whether it's a resources barrier or the barriers to getting your stuff seen by people. Always a good thing, never ever a bad thing. I think that yes, to some degree, it devalues filmmakers because it's like, well, anybody can do it. But just like we were talking about earlier, anybody can do it. Who knows how many brilliant visionary film people can't even make a first short film or haven't been able to make a first short film simply because they couldn't get their hands on a camera or whatever. And if these people can run out there, and the thing is that quality will always rise to the top. Always, always, always. Unless, okay, fine. Not always, always,
you
always.
You know where I was going with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Okay,
but the more access people have to resources and to the same marketing tools as everybody else, the more the cream will rise to the top. That's why we are more critical of actors and films these days than we have ever been at any point in the history of film, is because we are becoming cognizant of as a culture that, hey, this kind of sucks. And like people like you happen to be a really amazing actress, and I'm not blowing smoke up your skirt. Anybody who's watching or listening to the show, all right. Anybody who's watching or listening to the show, I have seen Michelle act, and she is really, really good, which is why she's in my next thing, and hopefully the next thing after that, and et cetera, et cetera. But there are people who have studied the dramatic arts and acting and whatever twice as long as you, and suck. They're still really bad. Like, education is fantastic for most people, but it is no guarantee of quality. And I think that most filmmakers are too full of themselves. And I think that having somebody come out there and be like, shot this film, and other people are like, oh, most excellent. What equipment did you? The iPhone 5 and iPad. I think that takes people down a notch that needs to be taken down. Yes, I want to shoot with epics and edit on a multi-$1,000 editing suite, but I have mad respect for the people who are able to do it without those resources. That's my opinion.
I agree. From a philosophical standpoint. But here's the problem. Because everybody and their brother is shooting a film, their next, award-winning film on their iPhone and putting it online, putting it on Vimeo and putting it on YouTube, the market is so saturated at this juncture and will continue, in my opinion, I think, to keep getting more and more saturated.
Right.
That it's impossible to find for the cream to rise to the top. I mean, I say impossible. I say it's really hard for the cream to rise to the top. And you're talking about all of this, with the Godzilla thing. Like, yes, absolutely, art is important, and people need to see art, but people aren't going to. There comes a point where the market is so saturated that people don't look anymore.
People are still looking at movies.
That's what I think.
People like Shane Carruth are making really, really good livings, even though they're not making Hollywood blockbusters. But he is not to my style, but he's a really good filmmaker, and he went out there with no budget and no equipment except for a decent camera. I forget what he shot on. It might have been the 5D or whatever. And he shot 2 films for a total budget of $17,000, and he made $500,000 back off of that. No, he's not a household name. No, he's not a whatever, but he is cream, and he has risen to the top. Everybody on YouTube who, makes good content, eventually, it takes time, but those are people. There are thousands of YouTube channels and whatnot, who are making a living off of YouTube. And those are people who might have wanted to be in the film industry a generation ago and never would have made it. Never. Maybe some of them would, but only a tiny percentage could have. And the thing is that, yes, the market gets saturated, and it becomes harder for people who are good filmmakers to make a living doing it. But who's to say whether we are the good filmmaker or they are the good filmmaker? I mean, obviously we know that we're the good filmmakers, but they think the same thing, like it's for audiences to decide. So anyway,
of course, I mean, art, and to go back to what I said earlier, I think good art is polarizing, and I think people have very diverse reactions to art, and what's great about it is no one is ever going to say, like, this is good art and this is bad art, Well,
people are going to say that, but people
for them, but there's never ever going to be like some codified, this is good art and this is bad art. You know what I mean? Like, here's a Pollock and that is awful, and here's a Rembrandt or whatever. But I think that people, well, I don't know. I find that it's very daunting as a filmmaker, and also as a viewer, I find that it's also very daunting in finding a film online that I want to watch, or finding what's good, or finding a resource for legitimate films, not just things that someone has made in their backyard that are legitimate art, as opposed to like people that have studied this craft.
Well, wait until we start getting our film empire going, Michelle, and then we will show them all.
Of course.
For me, the solution to that problem of finding good content is, I mean, it sounds too simplistic, but it's finding good content. It's finding something that's good and consistently good. And once you find that, sticking with that person. Like we do, and whether it's strictly because of YouTube or because of whatever, we do kind of live in a subscription-based culture where we find a good YouTube channel and we subscribe to that so that we don't miss it when they do it again in the future. When we find a good author that we love, we sign up for their email newsletter so that the next time they publish a book, we don't miss it. Because it is so hard to find good art that when you do, because I don't think it is or will ever be so hard to find good art that you can spend years without ever reading a good book. Like, we could never get to that point, or seeing a good film, because things are good. When they put it out, even if they only tell their friends and family, if it's legitimately good, will want to share it because it's legitimately good. And if it's legitimately good, then those people will want to share it. And it's like the ripples in the water. It gets smaller and smaller and weaker. But you will find good things, and when you do that, make sure to connect to that creator, whoever that creator is. Make sure that you find some way to keep in touch with them. I don't know, that's my opinion.
Circle, Garrett B. Robinson.
Yes.
And which brings us back to niche.
Exactly, which is another thing. Whole nother thing we could do a whole damn show on, but I feel like we've run a little bit long on this segment.
Oh, well, fine.
Oh well. We should talk niche next week with Jack Zulo if we can actually bring Jack on. I'm a little gun shy after after the episode with Scott today.
We miss you, Scott.
We miss you, Scott. We would have loved to have you on. Update to fix the thing, and we'll have you on as a guest sometime. So let's move on to things to know, and my thing to know will actually be related to that. If you have not seen it already, you should find Scott Keiffer Johnson's Project Hollywood series online. You can find it somewhere on here on YouTube. I forget the name of his channel. I would ask him if he was here, but it's a damn good series, and it's made with a whole lot of We Make Movies peeps and We Make Movies crew and actors and everything. So go check it out. Project Hollywood web series. I believe the first season is up. The whole first season, I think. So there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Two things to know. First thing, I would like to show you my pride and joy because I never ever shoot this podcast from home. I was trying to find something that was just as cool as Garrett B. Robinson's Darth Vader behind him to, like, you know, validate myself as a geek and thus part of this podcast. So I was like, what is my most prized geeky possession? And then I was like, you know what? In fact, it is my Brewski Ball High Roller T-Ball Championship Trophy. Just like, T-Ball Champion. So what's up, bitches?
That is not what I was expecting. Oh, my God.
That's my thing to know. Oh, no, I have one more thing to know. Again, if you guys are really interested in seeing what Garrett Robinson and I are creating, or in the process of raising funds to create, it is a film based on the published short story by Garrett, and you can go to unsaidfilm.blogspot.com, as in, like, not said, but unsaid.
Unsaidfilm.blogspot.com.
Mm-hmm. That's that.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. With that, I will call an end to these festivities. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. Next time, feel free to chime in with the comments. We can respond to them live on the show. I have been Garrett Robinson. You can find me at garrettbrobinson.com. Michelle is Michelle Loucadoux. You can find her at mloucadoux on Twitter. Go check out the film, unsaidfilm.blogspot.com, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.